A Guide to Oxymorons and Paradoxes by Douglas and Zach. Before we start, we must first define what a figure of speech is. A figure of speech is a word or phrase that conveys a meaning separate from its exact literal definition. This means that it acts as another way to say something, typically a more colorful way to talk, as they force the reader or listener to interpret the intended meaning of the word or phrase. Here's an example. Your mom smells like my dog. This would be a simile. We started with oxymorons. What are they? An oxymoron is a figure of speech that is contradictory, typically a noun and an adjective, but they could also be one or more phrases together. When are oxymoron used? A writer wants to add elements such as dramatic effect, deeper meaning, and irony. Shakespeare makes great use of oxymorons in plays like Romeo and Juliet. For example, "O brawling love, O loving hate." This shows his animosity to the fights between the families. Here's a good example. Only choice. Only means that you have a singular. Choice means that your options are varied and you get to choose them. You add these together, and they're direct words that contradict each other. This is an oxymoron. Here's a useful trick. In writing, you might want to use an oxymoron to put emphasis on a certain event or object.
Paradox is similar to an oxymoron, but is focused on the contradiction between different ideas and themes, while still maintaining a sense of truth, like a message. Paradoxes can be represented within literature or visualized situations like thought experiments. Paradoxes are intrinsically confusing due to their self-contradictory nature, and when used in writing can promote deeper thought and/or discussion about the themes of the story, and other themes outside of storytelling. An example of a paradox in writing is shown within Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. When Juliet realizes that Romeo is a member of the Montague family, of which hates Juliet's family, she says, "My only love is sprung from my only hate." This is a paradox, as logically it would not make sense for love to be birthed from hatred, as they are completely opposite to each other. Thus, this is a contradiction. An example of a paradox as a thought experiment can be found within the Rick Astley paradox. In Rick Astley's hit song, "Never Gonna Give You Up," Rick Astley claims he will not give you up, while also claiming he will never let you down. Now, if you ask Rick Astley for his copy of Pixar's hit movie Up, he cannot give you Pixar's hit movie Up, due to his previous claim, "Never Gonna Give You Up." By doing this, though, he lets you down, which he will never do. Thus, the Rick Astley paradox. However, we will also find that there exist different variations of paradoxes. Firstly, a veridical paradox is a paradox that at first seems to be absurd and wrong, but whose conclusion is in fact truthful/correct. It comes to a general point that convinces us, although in a typically inefficient/counterintuitive manner. A falsidical paradox is a paradox that at first seems to be completely wrong and is in fact wrong in conclusion. This is usually a result of an error in how the paradox is presented and how it works. Next, an antinomy is a paradox that does not come to a general conclusion and is without a clear message or answer, despite correctly applied ways of logical reasoning. This means that it is essentially unsolved. Now we'll move on to some examples. A young pirate will be allowed to leave a group of pirates on his 21st birthday. However, when the day comes, he is not allowed to leave. This is due to his birthday being on a leap year, meaning his birthday would have to come every 4 years. This means he can't leave for around 60 years. This is veridical because the statement is true, but because the statement of it being on a leap year is initially withheld from us, it is inefficient. Now we'll move on to some examples. A young pirate will be allowed to leave a group of pirates on his 21st birthday. However, when the day comes, he is not allowed to leave. This is due to his birthday being on a leap year, meaning his birthday would have to come every 4 years. This means he can't leave for around 60 years. This is veridical because the statement is true, but because the statement of it being on a leap year is initially withheld from us, it is inefficient. Paradoxes may seem complicated, however, there is a trick to learning how to write and use paradoxes. To write a paradox, you would typically need to have a situation in which something like a character, idea, or concept is seen to have a quality that contradicts itself. These are typically larger than an oxymoron and are contained in entire statements or sentences. In short, a paradox is basically a larger and more complex oxymoron. Paradoxes will also withhold a piece of information that would otherwise cause the sentence to make logical sense. This can be done by removing or replacing certain elements with different contradictory words. For example, we have the sentence, "The man was physically clean, yet remained dirty with guilt." This can be changed to, "The man was clean, yet remained dirty." This brings about a paradoxical structure to the sentence. Figures of speech are all about unconventional ways to state things, and paradoxes are no different to this. And thus, that marks the end of our tutorial. Thank you for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial on paradoxes and oxymorons. We hope you will be able to use them in your writing in the future as well.
As Doug said, thank you for watching. Mwahaha.